The feminine mystery teachings around the new moon in Virgo draw us into the power of the healer within us. The goddess Nu Kua of the northern provinces of indigenous China speaks to us of her deep faith in the cycles of the moon. When the world was in complete chaos, complete ruin, when the sky was where the earth was where the sky is, and there was no way to make sense, no way to make sense of up and down, in and out, Nu Kua stepped in. She knew that in order to bring a sense of healing to the chaos of the land, that she was going to have to anchor into something stable. And considering everything was in chaos, including the seasons even, she looked to the moon cycle. She knew that every month the moon grew dark. When she walked out at night, she couldn't see anything. She knew that that cycle was occurring on the planet at that moment. But she also knew that every month the moon moves from dark and begins to grow and expand until it's absolutely full, absolutely at its peak and its apex, and then of course it descends again. So from this moon cycle, she was able to deduce that she could trust in a pattern of stability. She looked for a way in her body that she could actually anchor into that sense of faith in order to bring healing to the land. And what she found, of course, was her breath. She found the cycle of her breath mirrored in the cycle of the moon. And so she knew she had a tool inside of herself to begin to invite the external environment to mirror her internal balance. There's a Chinese parable that says there was a town in the mountains where there was such a severe drought in summer that if rain didn't come soon, it was possible the entire town would die. So before they got beyond that point where they still had like a little bit of food, they gave it all to the fastest woman in the village, and she crossed the mountains of China to the most powerful rainmaker in the land. She brought the rainmaker back. And when the rainmaker came, she sat in the center of town, and everyone just watched with trepidation, like, is this gonna work? What is she doing? She's not doing anything. She's not doing a dance. She's not shaking a rattle. She's not calling to the gods. She's just sitting silently. After 3 days, the rains came. The villagers asked her, how'd you do that? She said, when I came to this village, it was so out of balance that it took me 3 days to get myself back into balance. And once I was back into balance, the rains came. This story is also mirrored in the mythology of Nu Kua, who again and again and again turned inside of herself to her breath and to her capacity to take care of herself, to be in this deep, intimate relationship with her embodiment, an ongoing process of self-healing, which then began to be mirrored outside of her. So as she attended to herself every day, as she practiced her self-care, as she practiced her conscious breathing, as she practiced her meditation and her healthy movement, slowly, piece by piece, the puzzle of the planet began to slowly come together until the mycelium expanded under the soil, mushrooms began to pop up, the earth anchored with the roots of the mycelium and with the roots of the trees, the earth anchored into the floor at the center of the planet, and the sky began to float upward so that, again, we could tell up from down. The more and the more that she devotedly dedicated her actions to her own balance, her own inner alignment, her own healing, and also her own intention of why she was doing this, the more that the universe started to come back into order. The why was not, everything's fucked up, so I gotta fix it. Ah! Which is like sometimes me in my dark moon period, right before my moon cycle. Oh my God, my life is descending into chaos. And then I remember my breath. So that wasn't her thinking, because that's the shadow of Virgo, not the healer, but the fixer. When we look around and all we see is problems, when we walk into our house and we immediately start cleaning, when we look at our relationships and we just are like, oh, that person does this person does that, my job does that, I'm always like this. When all we see is the darkness and the problems, then all we mirror outward is darkness and problems. And we're constantly fixing. And if we're not fixing, everything's in chaos, because we feel like we've got to, either we feel like we fall into the savior narrative where we've got to be the one to put things back in order. We've got to be the one to fix it. Shadow of Virgo. Or we are just constantly busy, constantly trying to hold everything together. The reality, especially for young moms, right? Or business owners, or if you're taking care of someone who's ill, like if you're ill, yes, it's intense. Life is intense. This journey is intense. You chose it. Your soul chose it. It chose this body, this circumstances, this life. It chose this time on the planet to come into being in the body that you have, right? Not so you could be the savior and try to fix things, because it doesn't work, right? If we're always fixing and trying to go outside of ourselves, all we do is spin our wheels. We have limited resources of energy. How are we going to use our precious breaths? How are we going to use our precious moments of life? Instead, Nu Kua, of looking around, everything's in chaos, instead, she looked inward and she sought the cycles of nature inside. She knew that even her existence was a miracle. Even her existence was evidence of a divine order, a divine balance. When she anchored into that faith, when she anchored into trust that she didn't have to be the one to fix everything, to change everything, when she anchored into the truth, while she saw the moon cycle, she saw the potential for order, she knew that instead of fixing, the process of healing actually involves stepping back into trust and actually seeing the order that's already there, seeing the beauty, seeing the presence, seeing the possibility of balance. When we enter into nature, we see balance. Right now, there is a balance of earth, air, fire, and water all around me, and it is drawing me back into presence. And that's why I'm here talking to you, because I want to talk to you from a place of deep presence. I want to talk to you from a place of deep balance. And I want to be in that place in myself at all times. When I'm in that place, everyone around me, it's easier for them to be in that place, right? When you're in a place where you're attending to your breath, you're attending to your body, without trying to fix something that's wrong, but anchoring into the faith and the trust that even to be here in relationship with our physical being is a miracle. That this connection inside of us is the source of all the healing we'll ever do on this planet. Our embodied relationship. Stepping into trust and faith and presence. Stepping out of the rat race inside. Because the more of the rat race that Nu Kua saw, the more she saw global warming. This is falling apart. Corporate greed. Everything's going to shit. The more she looked out and saw that, the more that created more and more and more of that. And the more that she turned inward to what she could actually influence in that moment, she found that the balance of nature inside of her, she was able to bring that to every situation she was in. And in fact, the external environment started to mirror back that internal balance. And thanks to quantum physics, we know this is just the nature of reality. We can test it, that what we believe is possible, that's what we see. So the deep mystery teachings of Virgo draw us into the reality that at this time on the planet, we're in a space where we're in chaos. Things are falling apart. The healer within reminds us that all healing occurs here first. And that what's happening in here is also happening out there. And what's happening out there is also happening in here. So we can impact what's happening outside by working within. This is not only the foundation of the great feminine mystery teachings, but the foundation of all ancient wisdom traditions.